Now, to fix the current highway corridors with projected severe congestion, I believe it's safe to say is in excess of $30 billion over the next 24 years. That works out to about $1.1 billion per year. You want to know how big 1.1 billion per year is to fix something, and you can amortize this and get away with avoiding some pain, but eventually you have to pay it. If you want to fund the 1.1 billion just through a gas tax, it's an additional $1 per gallon gas tax. If you want to do it with a sales tax, it's an additional 6% on the general sales tax if you wanted to do it just with those revenue streams. Now, neither one of those is remotely possible at those levels, but that's just to give you a scale of what it would take to fix what we are extremely certain will be on our plate during the next 24 years.
We do have a significant revenue shortfall in Virginia. Since 2008, $4.6 billion has been cut from the transportation budget. That is about 1 year of our repair needs. Well, so we have already cut a year out of the next 6 years. Of the low monies that we had have been cut because of the shortfall. Our revenues are derived from 4 sources. It is the state gasoline tax, which, to point out, we have the 3rd largest road network, but we're number 40 in terms of state collection, in terms of our rate. The next piece is the gasoline, the federal gasoline tax. That's 18.4 cents per gallon. Those two together make up 75% of the revenue source that funds our roads and bridges in the state. The other 25% comes from sales and use taxes and motor user and fees. So the majority of our taxes comes from what we collect through gasoline taxes, either at the state or the federal level. Of those 4 sources, our state gasoline tax was last changed in 1987. Of those 4 sources, all have kept pace with inflation, except for our state gasoline tax. We are now about 50% of the purchasing power we had in 1987. So we haven't even kept up with inflation. And we all know what Dwight just said, our transportation needs are increasing somewhere between 2 and 4% a year, just in terms of keeping up with the CPI. So that's where our revenues come from and the shortfall that we face.
Now, what do we do to solve this problem? Clearly leadership. I mean, duh, it's leadership. That's what it's all about. From the governor to the Senate to the House of Delegates and to our local officials, who I think have done an incredibly good job of letting people know about what the issues are. Not a particularly good job in getting that changed. Clearly new revenue is needed, and it isn't needed next year or the year after. It's needed now because the degradation continues. Regretfully, lots more revenue is needed because of our failure to conserve our resources. But that's just what happens when you put your head in the sand. You put your head in the sand and don't deal with it, the problems continue. We must replace elected officials who have put their head in the sand or who have been asleep on the job, because this situation developed on their watch. It's in the last decade, 10 or 12 years. Before that, the system worked pretty darn well. Now, if lunacy is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, it'll be on us if we don't do something about that in terms of electing officials who will deal with these issues. Thank you very much.